And we're live.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. So first episode. Well, we've done first official episode.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, dude. It's good stuff. We got the very first one. So with that being said, kind of coming to like the whole point of coming here, one of my favorite ways now that we've done it and dicked around a little bit to do some content is just because it's like the most free flowing way to be able to do this. And like we always end up doing these conversations anyways. So we're like, well, we should probably have someone follow us around and record us everywhere we go. But second best option is every time we have those conversations, let's just jump into a room.
Yeah. Yeah, the first best option is to walk around with a mic set up on our belts the whole time. Belt rig up, mic everywhere. Oh, did you get that one? Yeah, let's splice it.
Yeah, perfect.
Second best thing. Podcast.
So, I mean, leading up to this, which ends up being, pretty long journey all the way getting it to here. I mean, if we were to go and give a little bit of backstory for those that don't know either of us, and how we kind of got to this point and got to here and why we decided to kind of partner up and do some content like this. Really, when it came down to it a few years back, go back all the way, 5-6 years ago, I was just in a point where I was, doing the traditional route, going to, barely graduating high school, dropped out of college first year, and at a job I just really didn't like at all, and I wasn't really fulfilled, and I had no idea what I was going to do, and I was looking for ways to make money online, and all of them were crap, and
doing the Google searches.
Yeah, do not Google search how to make money online unless you want to lose a lot of time and money. Then by all means, go ahead and do it. Hopefully we can aid you guys in avoiding our mistakes, and as we go through both of our stories, you'll hear quite a few of them.
Yeah, really learning from experience, right?
Yeah. And so none of them worked. I tried so many things, none of them worked. It was a joke, and I thought that there was maybe only mythical creatures that extract money from the internet could make that work, and so I just gave up. I went back to the butcher shop. I'm making like $9 an hour. Luckily, it was cash. And so I'm taking home $400 a week, and I did it for like 2 years, and I'm just like, you know what, there has to be more to this. Like I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to, go and experience the world. Like one of the things that I was fascinated by that I never really got to do as a kid was travel. And I used to see all my friends go on these crazy vacations and go swim with dolphins and do all this shit. I'm like, wow, like I want to be able to do that. Yet I never, got the ability to be able to go and do that. So that was one thing that really drove me a lot, was being able to, travel, experience the world, and do things like that. And I wasn't able to do that in my current situation. And so I luckily, being super pissed off, me and my the only reason I had the job at the butcher shop is because my uncle owned it and he saved my life, basically. And so I'm there, and I got fed up when I used to take. You remember the Molson cold shots?
Yeah,
those little 8-packs.
Yeah, and they're like these little perfect little. Yeah, I know all about
the Red Bull ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's how I got over my day.
Cold shots at night.
Had cold shots.
Meat in the day, cold
meat
shots
in the
at
day,
night.
cold shots by night. And luckily though, because it allowed me to kind of like be open to other things.
Yeah.
Not that it's good, but I'm trying to justify it. And so I luckily, and then I was like, I started doing the search again. I'm looking around, and I stumbled across this video of Dakota, who is this 19-year-old video. It was retired at 19, traveling around the world in Thailand, which is one of the places that I really wanted to go because my dad's girlfriend was there and was showing me pictures, and it looked beautiful. And I'm like, wow. And now this kid's there. He's 19 years old, making 20 grand a month, traveling around, doing all of those things that I was just telling myself like that I want to be doing. And I'm like, oh shit. But then the thought goes in my head like, oh, well, he's probably doing what those mythical creatures are doing, and there's no way to do it. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Like, I'm at bottom right now. I got to the point where I was like super depressed. I hated the way my life was going, and it was like I had to do something, and thank God I did. And it got to the point where I got in, and I realized why I never had success in any of the other things. One, I never had the right training. I had no training at all in anything that I ever tried to do. I had no mentorship. There was no sense of community. There was all of these pieces that were missing. So when I had that introduced to me, I was like, whoa, like this is fucking different. Like where the fuck was that when I fucking did all this other shit? And so that was like, okay, wow, cool. And even though the learning curve was super steep, like we get into internet marketing. So of course you're having to run some sort of advertising, you're building funnels, you're capturing leads, you're doing copywriting, you're doing sales calls, so there's a lot of pieces in there. And I just didn't care because I was like, okay, I have the support, I have the training, like the things are there. Like, I don't even care. Cam would always tell me, like, what if it took you 3 years? And I always had that stick in my head. I was like, okay, I'm willing. So it took me like 6 months to make a $25 sale, and I just didn't care. Everyone else was quitting after 90 days. I didn't care. But it got to the point where I was like, I did 10K a month, and then the next month I did 10 grand, and I had one person make $25. And it was like, fuck. You know, like, I can't do this shit if no one else is making money. Like, that's the only, I can't do that. And I shut the campaign off, and Julian's, I have $2,000 to my name. Julian's got $1,000. He's in his mom's basement suite. I'm at my mom's basement suite, and he's like, dude, like, maybe he's talking about going back to a job. He's like, I hit up one of my downlines to see if I could get a sales job with him. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, dude, like, no, we can't. We just got to figure out something. And luckily, Cameron ended up figuring out something. We rolled out another campaign, started going really, really well. And then what we started doing, we were like, okay, well, hey, like, we know how to build the funnels. We know how to do the sales. Like, we know how to build a sales funnel. We know how to write the copy. We already have what works. What if we just give that to all the affiliates and we just code it to them so that they don't have to worry about building all that stuff? Like, deal with that shit later.
Give them a template.
Let's get them running. Let's get them making some money, and then we can teach this stuff later. And then all of a sudden it blew up. It really fucking blew up, and it like, people are all of a sudden getting results first month. First couple months, like, doing like 300 people now, 2 years past that, like 300 people quit their jobs, over 60 people making 6 figures to 7 figures, like insane results. And the funny part is, and where this kind of all like ties in, is like it's so funny because the big factor for me when I started getting results, it wasn't even even though that was a learning curve and that was a big part of it, was the skill set. It was like, the big part that was holding me back wasn't that I couldn't figure out the funnels. I was building them. I could build all that shit, but my head was fucked up. And and it's funny because when you talk to me, like Jesse and I talking about like reading the books and listening to audios and like developing yourself, and he's like, he's full of shit. Yeah. You know, like, he's full of shit. And then they start thinking about it, and he's like, oh, fuck. Yeah. You know, and then so along this journey, as we start going through, and then now we get to when did we first met? About a little over a year, probably almost 2 years ago.
We met it was like January 2017 was the first like face-to-face meet that we had.
So yeah, coming on 2 years then. Yeah. So coming on 2
dude.
years. And the funny part about this is we'll set the context. So like, first interaction.
Yeah. First interaction was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Fucking guy. I get a Snapchat, and I have no idea, right? So I get a Snapchat from this guy, and I had just done this video that very quickly got taken off of Facebook, where we basically went and took out $100,000, had it stacked up on the thing, and then I threw $50,000 across the living room. Was talking about, you know, the money. Who cares how much I make? You know, like, how can I help you make money?
Yeah,
the whole concept.
It doesn't matter how much money I can make.
Yeah.
For you to be successful.
Yeah. How much money do I have to make for you to be successful?
Totally true statement too, right?
Right. But Facebook didn't like it.
No.
But so we do that, and so I get this Snapchat. And it's this dude. He's like, it's not about the money, right, Jang? And he's like, do yours smell like maple? And he's got Canadian hundreds, and we're using American. So everyone talks about how the Canadians smell like maple. And then he's like, it's not about the money. He's like, and he throws it. And then he comes up, takes his glass off. He's like, I'm going to take your job and steal your girl. I was like, what the fuck? And I thought it was just some asshole that watched my video that's like, fuck this guy. Yeah. Like, I'm going to go make a fucking Snapchat and send it to him. And I have no context and no idea. And then all of a sudden we come to the event. I'm at Jesse's event. Where was the Spruce Grove? Yeah. And we're out there.
A wicked, beautiful house. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
It was great time too. Yeah. And Aaron, you come up, you're like, you remember me? I'm like, no. Like, right. And then you're like, I'm going to take your job and steal your girl. I was like, yeah, it was fucking you? Like, what the fuck? Dude, it's the funniest shit. And like, now we live together.
Yeah. Yeah. Go figure, right? Set intentions. Dude. Except I'm not here to take his job or steal his girl. That was a joke.
Wow.
But yeah, it's pretty funny how that all kind of maps out, hey?
It's hilarious.
Next thing you know, I'm actually one of the guys that's using all of the tools and all the platforms that you've created to help so many people become successful. And I'm one of those people that's cranking, but you think I'm just some asshole.
I had no idea. And so that's kind of like going into to where I kind of started in there, and then for you, a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, man, it's like completely like it's almost like a 180-degree different story from you, right? Like, you know, for me, it's not. I wasn't in the rat-infested basement eating ramen noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? You know, I wasn't. I wasn't hurting. Paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't. I have, a really good family. You do too. But just like for lots of people where they come from that rock bottom place, it's like broken family, no friend circles, financial struggles every single day. And for me, it was completely like, it was a lot different than that. But I still hit a rock bottom, right? Yours was different than mine. Mine was like yours was an emotional state too, but mine was an emotional state, but had nothing to do with financials really.
Yeah.
So, like for me, it's like, starting out, grew up in a great family, they supported me really well. I was spoiled rotten, right? And, raced snowmobiles and dirt bikes, like super spoiled, dude. Like that's like one of the most expensive sports you could ever imagine. Like I know some families that have to deal with like hockey. Oh yeah. Right? Like kids in hockey, and that's expensive. But when it comes to like
compared to that,
a new snowmobile every year, and like, and gear, and, traveling and big rigs and trailers and all this stuff. So my parents actually purchased a snowmobile dealership just to support me and my brother for like racing, right? So really, really cool childhood because they found something that I was passionate about and really good at, and they created that space for me. So super grateful for that. But that also is a big trigger on why I'm in the seat that I'm in today, because I was introduced to my passion. I understood my passion, and then I had to fall away from it completely, right? So from there, out of high school, worked rigs. It was the best paying job I could best paying job I could find with zero education, right? Because oil and gas makes wicked money. And, from there, my goal was to really, so I could get back into racing, because I had to stop, I got out of it, and mom and dad weren't going to support me anymore. Fair enough. I'm an adult, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're set free. Go ahead.
See you later.
Yeah. And, that was my intention. Do that, make good money, and then, get back into racing. And as soon as I got into it and started making the money for myself and creating the financial success, I started just like putting other people's values on me. And it's like, well, I need to get a big jacked up truck, and I need to put an exhaust on it, and I got to put big tires on it and a sound system in it if I'm going to be making this kind of money, because that's what people do that make this kind of money.
Yep.
Right. I got to go and buy a house like right now, because that's what people do that make this kind of money. Right. I have to do all these things. I have to go out and spend all my money as soon as I make it, because that's what they do. Right. It's not that I really essentially wanted to do it. I'm not saying I didn't have fun.
Yeah.
Right. But it was just like, it's tons of fun. I love spending money. But it was like looking at that and just like not understanding what I was doing in a sense, and just taking their values and just being like, oh, that's what I'm going to do too. And then it just totally went from a place of like, the first intention was to go snowmobiling and race my snowmobile. And it was completely kibosh because I was trying to be somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. So then it was like, okay, well, what can I do to change this? Oil and gas was starting to go a little bit sideways. I'm like, I'm going to become an electrician, because they make really good money too. And it was always money driven, right?
Yeah.
And got my trade, did really well with that, worked up the ranks with that. And now I was working less, right? Or I thought I was working less, because with oil and gas, you would get like breakup seasons, 3-4 months off. But now it's like, as I work my way up with that, now it's like I have more responsibilities for that extra little pay. And it's like, oh, now you're a foreman. Now you're doing this. Now you're in charge of that. And now it's like, my intention was to get into that to free up my time and make the same kind of money. But really all it did was make a little bit more money and take my time away even more, right? Because now I was busy all year round. So I was like, the catch-22s kept popping up over and over. And it's like, well, I want to ride my sled, but I'm like, but you know what? I'm too old for that. I haven't been riding for a long time. I'll buy the sled and I'll have it all, but, and then I'll ride it. Like I was riding it like maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Right. And it's like, that's, I used to live and breathe that stuff.
Yeah.
So then it came to that place where I'm like, I'm sitting there and I'm working this job, and it's the easiest job I've ever had in my life, the most money I've ever made in my life. But all of a sudden I'm like, I felt like empty and stuff. And I'm like, well, what? I'm not getting to do the things that I love. And then for me, it was a relationship that sparked it. It was like a catalyst. And it was like, we split up. And then I was like, well, why is this happening, right? I have a great career. I have this and that. And she goes, you have no more goals. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude?
Ooh.
Right? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I got a great career. Like, what do you mean I have no goals? I own a house. I have a nice vehicle. I got the toys. I can travel if I want to. She's like, you have no goals. You're just running stagnant. And then I started to like analyze that. And I'm like, wow, I don't have any goals. Like, you know, I feel like I made it. And I'm like 27, 28 years old, right? So then I was like, okay, I need to figure this shit out, like now. And my intention was like, I need to figure it out so I could fix that, fix the relationship part.
Yeah.
So, you know, the financial side was there, you know, and I could have the time if I wanted to, but I just never accepted it because it was just allowing other people's values. So then I would go to work and falling away from everything. So I'm like, well, I just need to make, my goal was like, I just need to make more money. I need to make more money. How can I make more money? Right. And I was that guy that went on Google and was like, how much does the average millionaire make? Right. 5 to 7 income. So I'm like, okay, so I have my career. I have my house and it's rented out because I never live in the freaking thing. I'm gone like 72% of the time. Right. I have investments going. I have a couple other little side things going on. And I'm like, okay, I just need one more. I just need one more thing to create an income. And then I just need to focus on where my money's going. So I'm like, I just need to find one more income that I can manage. And my intention was just to add on to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Which is like completely opposite of really what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right. It's like thinking that money's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Google pops up. How do I make more money online? And now it's funny because it's like an awareness thing, right? Because now I was consciously aware that I was looking for something different.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a subconscious program anymore. It was conscious. It was like, I need to find this. And as soon as it's like, I need to find this, I found it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Same
for you, right? It's funny how that works.
Yeah. Kind of like the cars, like you talk about, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. And as soon as you get clear on it, all of a sudden it's not, you know what? Darren Hardy does a good explanation of like the law of attraction, where it's not that it's like you're magically attracting these random things. Like it's like for the car example where you go and it's like you're thinking of buying a car. I was buying an X6 and everywhere you go, you just see this X6 everywhere. Yeah. And it's not like, you know, you thought of it and then, law of attraction attracted this boat of X6s that dropped them off and they popped out right by you and drove circles around you and followed you around. Yeah. But you become aware of it. And so that's what you end up seeing. And just like when you become aware of the fact that you're looking for something more, you start to see that. You become aware of the fact that you have no money, you see that. You become aware of the fact that you're not happy, you see that. You know, whatever it is that you're putting your attention on is what you end up seeing. Not that it wasn't always there. It's just you can't focus on everything. Yeah,
there's so much stuff going on every day. You can't absorb it all at once. But as soon as you're looking for it, you're going to see it. So that's what ended up happening for me. And I'm like, see an ad on Facebook of this guy, you know, and first it was actually you. Right. And I see this guy walking around on the beach, you know, this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? And then I just start seeing him pop up over and over and over. And then I see some more. And then I see this guy and he's an electrician just like me. And I just got back from Costa Rica, actually, not long before that. Yeah. And he's standing in the same place that I was standing like a couple weeks before. Right.
Oh, yeah. Peabody. Right.
Yeah. And I'm just tripping right out. And I'm like, what? He's an electrician too. And he was looking for another income. And he's standing in this auditorium that I was literally just standing in. I'm like, I got to look into this now. Like, not fully realizing that they were connected, but I'm like, there's something going on with this. And so I reach out and I get this big blasted automated message. And I'm like, what the fuck? I read through it. I'm like, okay, So then I just start analyzing through anything because I'm an analyst, basically, right? And just start going through all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so what if this is real, right? And I need to just understand, you know, because if it is real and I don't move forward with it, I'm going to be kicking myself. And then I started weighing the option. I'm like, well, everything is going online, you know. I still don't use online that much. And this is, you know, 2 years ago. I still don't use it that much. But I'm like, I know a lot of people that they're buying clothes, or they're buying groceries, or like, you know, everything really. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why can't you be selling stuff online too, because someone's got to be selling it. And then I'm just like, well, if I don't look into this and prove it to myself, and I see this guy later on down the road and he's just killing it, I'm going to be so pissed, right? I'm going to be so pissed with myself. So, of course, went through it, and long story short, obviously proved to myself that it was real. And yeah, man, from there I was like, okay, well, this is my chance. And then it was at first, that was it. Like, how do I make more money? And that was the initial driving force.
Yep.
Because that's going to fix my relationships that I have. And then from there, I was like, I had to take a step back because I did start making some really good money. And then I was like, felt shittier than I did before. And I'm like, whoa, dude, that's not cool. I thought
the money made the happiness. I thought that's what it does.
Yeah, you know, everyone says that money doesn't buy happiness, but I don't believe that shit. Now I do, because I actually am experiencing it, and like triple the income, and I'm like, all right, something's up here. Yeah. And then it came down to the mindset side of it, and that's where like the true success started coming through. Where it's like not only financial, but it's like the spiritual or personal growth, whatever you want to label it as, right? The relationships with everyone else. And just seeing the big picture and seeing something that is bigger than myself, right? And that was that vision that I seen with you guys creating everything on when I started to actually understand it, right? And I'm like, man, it's all about having something bigger than yourself, because, you know, and I heard a quote not long ago, and it's like, how does it go? It goes, your net worth has nothing to do with your human worth, right? So no matter how much money I made, when I was like, you know, 10 feet under or 8 feet under or whatever they do. Is it 8 feet? They bury them 8 feet down or something like that, right?
6 feet.
6 feet. Oh,
6
yeah.
feet,
Well, there you go. I'm way off. Going way past the permafrost on that one. But, you know, like when all that happens, you're not left with anything. And that was another cliche thing that I've always heard, right? It's like, well, you can't take your money with you when you're dead, right? You can't take your possessions with you when you're dead. But what you can do is you can create a legacy that ripples on, you know, that'll live on forever.
Yeah.
So that's where it was like, that woke me up, and I'm like, bro, that's like, that was the thing that gave me tingles and like felt aligned with everything. And I'm like, okay, this is way more fun. This is way cooler than just worrying about myself. This is like actually something that's inspirational, that feels right, that is satisfying, you know, because money is satisfying to a certain degree always. And I love money for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's not that money's bad. It's like they talk about, and I love when Bob Proctor does this one, and Josh, I don't know if you've heard this one, and let me know too, make sure that we're going to about an hour, cut us off, and, you know, let us know about 5 minutes before. But Bob Proctor does this nice thing where he talks about, you know, of course money can't buy happiness. It's as ridiculous as saying you can't ride around town on a refrigerator. Like, of course. Yeah. Of course it can't buy happiness. But money's also the biggest stressor in the world. So if you can just get to the point where bills are covered, you're comfortable, you got a nice amount in the bank account, like you're not having to stress and worry about it, you've now eliminated that stress, of course. But once that stress is eliminated, whether you make $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month or $1 million a month, that doesn't make you happier. No. Once you get past the stress part, now that money stress is gone, right? Now the happiness is like up to you, though. Like, it's not going to make you happier making more. You have to have something that is bigger than you, that gives you fulfillment from the inside, like inspired versus motivation. I love DeMartini's explanation of the difference between motivation and inspiration. You have to be inspired from within. Otherwise, you need to have that level of fulfillment. And one of the, I don't know, for me, and I know you got this too, is like I get the most out of it. Like, no matter how much money I've ever made, more so, whether it's helping someone make money or whether it's helping someone just like overcome some limiting beliefs that they have or help. But when I see that because of something I said or something I trained on or something I helped or did, that person's life's now better, that fucking lights me the fuck up. Dude. Like, that gets me up. Whereas like, if I make 10 grand or 100 grand or $1 million, or like, I don't fucking care. Like I'm good now. I've passed the stress point. I never stress about money. I haven't for like years now. So the money doesn't add to happiness anymore. It has to be bigger than that. It has to be more than that. And
the cool part with that too is like when, and this was like, there was some, I don't know the article or whatever, but there was like a little research thing done. And when money can relieve that, like when you make enough money that it's relieving that stress of not having money, you actually become smarter.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you have room. It takes out the capacity of worrying about and stressing about money all the time, and it removes it. Your IQ goes up because it like removes that space in your thought process, right?
100%. And not only just becoming smarter, but your ability to create. If we understand that our thoughts are creating our reality around us, and basically our imagination and what we think up is actually creating the reality around us, and it's dictating the choices we make and the behaviors and the experiences and the emotional response. So now all of a sudden, if the stress is there, like I always loved this quote, and I don't even know who it's from, but it was saying worrying is the worst misuse of our imagination. Because if we understand that our imagination, and we're thinking about our dreams and our goals and things that we're going to attract and create and the lifestyle you wanted to create, and someone will be like, right, we're now attracting situations and people and events and things to make that happen. When we're worrying about not having money and stress, not only are we taking up that part of the brain and wasting it on that, we're actually using it to propel us into this fucking endless state of worrying about more of it and attracting events and people to make that happen. So it's like, it's not only not getting us there and not taking away that space, the space it is using is digging our hole fucking deeper. It's fucking crazy.
Once one door opens, the rest of it just opens you up to a whole new room of more doors.
Yeah.
And then you go open another one. There's a whole bunch of more doors.
Oh man.
Just keep opening doors.
Totally.
Yeah, dude.
Totally. And it's funny when you come in and talking to mindset, because when I got into the space, the last thing I was going into was for mindset. The first thing was money, and same thing with you. And that's why I was getting into it. But the funny part, and I love that Cameron brought that up all the time, was like, you know, I'd have a hard time with money. And I go up to him and I'm like, man, I'm having a hard time with this. I'm having a hard time with that. He's like, are you reading the books? I'm like, no, man, I'm having a hard time with this. And I want to make money. And he's like, okay, so what are you doing? Are you reading the books? And I'm like, no, man, like I need to make money. I can read the fucking books later. Like, I don't need to worry about that shit. I need to worry about like, how do I make fucking money? Oh, then read the damn books. Yeah. Like once I started going into it, and it was super funny because my mom introduced me to The Secret when I was like 15. Yeah. I thought she was a fucking lunatic. Like I was like, my mom's smoking fucking crack. Yeah. Like that's what I literally thought. I saw like growing up and yelling and screaming and all this shit, and now all of a sudden you're saying think positive and positive things will happen. Like, you're a fucking lunatic. Yeah. Like, what is going on? And I'm 15, so I don't take that shit seriously. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. And I ended up like partially reading it, and I ended up being in an altered state at the time, which allowed me to be open enough to read it. And I read part of it. I'm like, whoa, this is kind of fucking cool. But then I got out of that altered state and went back to being like, this is kind of stupid. But it wasn't until like when I really made the decision I was going to be like in and I was going to do this stuff. And then I saw, because if we're the only variable in the equation, like there's whatever you're doing and the actions that you're taking, but there's like you and like who you are and the knowledge you have and the skill sets that you have as one big fucking variable in my mind. So like I needed to work on me. Like there was a lot of shit that was fucked up with me that I needed to work on. And I didn't get that though until I was at a point where I was like super depressed, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and just broke up with a girlfriend that I was with, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, I'm just, you know, throwing myself a pity party every fucking night. Yeah. With the cold shots. With the cold shots.
that was your party buddy.
Yeah, he was my buddies. Yeah. I got 8 buddies with me every night. No, bro. And
they just seem to keep leaving the longer the night goes on.
They keep leaving me, man. But I got to this point where I was like, you know what? I was so in this like bottom, like hating my life, not knowing why the fuck I was here or doing anything. And I was just like, you know what about that fucking thing? Mom told me about that book or The Secret or whatever. I'm like, I remember that it was on Netflix. So like, I'll fucking just watch the movie. Yeah. And like, disclosure here, I do believe there's a lot of holes in the magic in The Secret. Sorry. And I believe they do have the mindset stuff down, but they don't incorporate the whole you got to do action part. So mindset stuff was great, but the big part was that it was an opening. It allowed me to be open to the fact that I was looking at it and I was complaining about my life. I was whining about fucking everything. Oh, fucking poor me and all this fucking bullshit. But when I looked at it and I watched that movie, I was like, fuck, like I did it. Like it was me. Like I did it, but what was awesome about that was the first time where I had to be like, because I always wanted to point blame at other people and say it was your fault and it was this person's fault. It was because I had this teacher and you didn't give me this and blaming everyone else. And that time I was like, can't fucking blame anyone else. It's fucking me.
Yeah, it's like the most disappointing yet most exciting
yeah.
thing to understand all of a sudden. Hey,
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, you can't. It's disappointing because it's like, fuck, it was me.
Yeah.
Damn it wasn't his fault. It's actually my fault. But then it's like, shit, that sucks. But then it's like, but hey, if that's the case,
yeah,
that's cool shit that we can do.
Yeah, that was because you're exactly right. It was like the most depressing and most uplifting thing at the same time. Because it was like, because if we're understanding, and at that time I'm starting to understand like that our thoughts are creating our reality, and so if I'm pointing blame for them for all the bad shit, I have to give them all the blame for all the good shit. I'm giving up my ability to create. And if I want to accept the responsibility for all the good shit, like everyone does, and mostly doesn't want to accept the responsibility for the bad, I have to accept the bad shit. I have to understand that like I fucking did it in some way, shape, or form. I created that. And so it was like, fuck. And then at that point, I just really started getting into like the personal growth aspect inside, and I started seeing like all the different programs and subconscious beliefs that I had, and like started seeing them show up, and like how I would react to certain social situations or stress or different things. Be like, why the fuck am I doing that? Like, why do I react? Why do I instantly get angry if someone does this? Or why do I instantly freak out if this happens? Or why do I, the minute I don't get something right, I beat myself up and bring like, why the fuck are these programs in there? And start to rewrite them, because usually what ends up happening, like how they come is like some sort of event happens, and then we make up a story based on that event, and then we live the fucking story for the rest of our life. That's usually not even fucking true.
Yeah, and the story just keeps repeating over and over, and it gets more in depth, and like more blame towards everybody else, and like even crazier and bigger, and it's just like, that guy, man, he honked his horn at me once, and fuck.
Yeah, it's like the fucking telephone game.
Yeah, totally like the telephone game. It reminded me of something when I was thinking about that, and just thinking about horn honking, right? For whatever reason, and because this happened to me the other day, we talked about it, right? Where somebody's laying his horn on at me, and he was mad, and he's like flipping the bird at me, and I'm like, what? And I like immediately like what the hell's your problem, dude? Like, and I got mad, and I was pissed off for like a good couple minutes, and then I like caught myself. I'm like, why am I so upset about this? Like, the guy probably just had a really bad day and like spilled his coffee or some shit, and seen that my truck said fire your boss, and he just lost an employee to, me taking his employee away or something, like whatever, right? But in the same aspect, it's like, it's a programming too. Like, obviously the guy was mad, but anytime that I hear a horn honking, right, whether I'm involved or not, I'm like, oh, somebody's pissed.
Yeah.
Right? Where in Costa Rica, when I went there for a little bit, I was only there for like a week at one point. And they honked their horns at everybody. And it's a good thing. Right? So I'm like cruising around and like getting honked at. I'm like, what the? Like, bro, like, what do you mean? It's your fault, right? And it's like, but they're like, no, like, go ahead. It's like, honk, honk, go ahead. Like, honk, honk, hey, I'm turning here. Like, honk, honk, like, they're letting you through and stuff, and honking, like helping you.
Yeah.
But it's like the programming of like, just like in Canada or North America alone, like 9 times out of 10, if somebody's honking at you, they're probably pissed at you.
Yeah.
Right? We assume that anyway. Right? I don't know about you, but I do.
Yeah.
And in Costa Rica, it's like somebody honks their horn. Now, like, if I go there now and they honk their horn, I got to like work on like, okay, like I'm doing something right, or they're allowing me to do something, like they're helping me. Right? Programs.
Yeah. It's funny to see. And it's like, and this is what excites me the most about this, is when we're going to be able to get like really deeper on topics like this. Like ultimately why we wanted to create this is we start getting into these conversations all the time, and no one hears it. And if someone does hear it, they're like, holy shit, fuck. Like they just had the greatest, and we're like, fuck, you're the only one. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different things, whether it's talking about programs or whether it's talking about different mindsets or different practices we do daily, or different things that we've done or seen or taught or whatever, whether it's you want to be an affiliate, or whether it's you want to start your own business, or whatever that might be. Like these principles that we'll end up talking about will be able to be something that can be applied virtually anywhere. And starting with that is even a good one. And I want to make sure that we don't go too deep, because we're going to be going into quite a few different episodes, and we got about 8 minutes. We're at 34 minutes. 34 minutes. We got a lot of time.
Yeah, we can crush this out.
Okay, so we're
talking fast or something, because we're covering a lot of stuff.
All right, I figured we were okay. We're good. Cool. So getting onto programs, and this is a cool concept that I always love talking about, because it's like most people don't realize. It's almost like we have this internal operating system, and when we're growing up, we're we're kind of programming that operating system to run because we can't consciously think of everything. Like about 90, I think it's even more than that. It's like 95% of what we do is subconscious. So we think about me moving, like if I had to think of every muscle I had to do to move my arms and do this and fucking breathe and do
the wave.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many fucking things going on. There's no way. So it's like even walking or sitting or anything, right? So we do something consciously over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes a program. And then we can now program that to our subconscious. Now our conscious mind can learn something else. The thing is, we install about 80% of these programs that make up our being, and 80% of them by 8. And so, there's a lot that are great, but I mean, you know, you're a lot by 8. So where do we get those from? Mom, dad, you know, teachers, school, environment, kids, like basically who you're hanging around with there. Mm-hmm. And so if you're hanging out and your dad's, you know, a multi-billionaire and does all these, you know what I mean? And you're learning all that, great. But more often than not, we're around people that for them, because I used to look at this, and when I first learned that, I was like, oh, so I got it from mom and dad, right? So hey, pointing at you, but where the fuck did they get it from, right? Because if I learned from 0 to 8, where did they learn from 0 to 8? And I started looking at their lives from 0 to 8. No fucking wonder they had all these different beliefs, right? Like, of course, you grow up in an environment like my dad, where he had, you know, he's got alcoholic, drug addicted mom, and he's got a dad who's doing a bunch of shady shit and beating people and doing all this shit, and that's what he's around. And brothers are fighting and doing all this shit. Like, no wonder your life's so out of control. You want to go to keeping everything in control, and then all these different beliefs that come from there. So I can't point blame there. I can look and I can be like, hey, you know what? If I grew up in that exact environment with the exact scenario, everything the same, I'd be him. Like everyone, and that was a big realization for me, because I would always like, you know, you look at that, everyone does the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. And when you look at where people are at, and you can look back and go, okay, from 0 to 8, and look what they were like. If you were in the same thing, same parents, like you woke up and did the same shit every day, talked to the same people, like exact life, you would live the exact same life as they did, right? And so from 0 to 8, if we understand that, so we're going to get a lot of empowering beliefs and a lot of programs that serve us, like the program that we installed to learn how to walk. Great, serves us very, very well, right? But then the program to where when maybe I try something new and someone makes fun of it, or someone does, and now I install a program like, oh, hey, if I do something new, I can get it wrong, I can get embarrassed, so I'm going to not do something new, and now that becomes a program. So any opportunity I get a chance to do something new, I go to the side, or whatever it might be. So there's a lot that serve us, and there's a lot that aren't. And so when we can look at and understand that we are operating based on programs, we can start to look back and think about, okay, well, if that's the case, how do we become more conscious of that? Because if we look at, and I love how Joe Dispenza makes this, where he talks about how if our thoughts create our choices, which create our behaviors, which create our experience, which create our emotional response. And then we usually become addicted to that emotional response. And then that's kind of a thing that basically our brains are wired to go to the known. They want to do things that are familiar, things that we're always used to.
Yeah, 'cause it feels good. You get the dopamine release in your brain, the chemicals start flowing, and it feels good.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna do that. Feels good.
Exactly. Even if it doesn't feel good, the fucked up part is
we can be addicted. You get addicted to that chemical.
You get addicted
reaction.
to whether it's good or bad, you're addicted, and it's fucked up because we can get addicted to shit that like makes us feel like shit.
Yeah.
But because it's known versus unknown, we're addicted to it because our brain just path of least resistance was familiar. And so we're naturally wired to like not go towards things that are unknown. And the funny part about this is if you want to create a life that's different from the reality that currently exists for you, it's unknown right now. And the only way to do that, so one, that's unknown. So if we want to create that, we have to be doing things differently than what we're currently doing now. We have to be thinking differently, making different choices, everything. And so the funny part is he goes back and he goes talking about how we have, 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day. Right. And I believe at 95% of our programs are by then. And so 60
it's actually by 18, I think. Isn't it? By 18, it's 95%.
And 18. Then
18
it's even
years old. I remember learning that with Todd, I think, is what he was mentioning. Because he's like, it's like, here's the scary part. 95% of everything you do is programmed from 18 to 18 years old. But the cool part is you can change it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was that's where it gets like, if you know that, and basically your thoughts. And so you have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, 90% of which are the exact same thoughts that you had the day before. Then what it's going to do is create a very, very predictable future based on the past. And so if we want to get out of that and create something different, right, we have to start changing the thoughts that we have. But what the really cool way that he put it was, if you look at it like this, the way that we can kind of tell, the way we train ourselves is like after we have some sort of experience, we release this emotional response to that experience. And so the emotional response is usually what happens after whatever experience we have. So say, for example, you want to create a life that's, you're traveling on the world, you have the successful business and all of that. Well, the emotional response would come after you would experience that. So you can actually trick your mind by having a really clear intention on what you want to be able to create, and then coupling that with an elevated emotion. So like love, gratitude being like the biggest one, gratitude, love, awe, inspiration, wonder, stuff like that. You're now tricking your brain into thinking that experience has already happened. Your brain can't tell whether you've actually experienced it or not. So it starts sending signals to the rest of your body and changing the biochemistry of your body as if that thing has already happened. And so it's really crazy. They're starting to see like they're having people doing like bicep exercises they're putting their arms in casts. Yeah. Like where normally you put anything in a cast and it shrinks like crazy because you're not able to use it. And they're having them not only think about consciously of them doing the exercise, they're also expressing the emotion of gratitude as if they've now gained muscle mass. Yeah. And so they coupled a clear vision of what they want to do. They went through it in their mind, and then they coupled that with a elevated emotional state, and noticed that every single person that did it, they're in a cast. They physically can't move the arm, yet they all grew muscle mass. And it's like, it starts to get crazy. And like, if you haven't listened to any of Joe Dispenza's stuff, especially on like, he's got a ton of really, really great videos, really great books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Evolve Your Brain, Becoming Supernatural. But he goes into a lot of stuff like this, and it's really cool because we've been even, and I love how he talks about gratitude a ton, because we've been talking about the magic. That was one thing that just rocked me from the, like. Yeah, dude, that was the biggest shift that I had. Well, it was honestly the first book I've ever read cover to cover. Yeah, shit. I don't know if it's, I've tried to, like, how to explain this. I was blessed enough to, or I was, restricted to, because I had a girlfriend that was a semester ahead of me. Yeah. And she would just see me struggling with English, like book reports, because I just wouldn't want to read. And she'd be like, give me that. And she'd like go through it and like answer all the book report questions for me. So I never actually had to read books. So it was great at the time. But I mean, after it was not really that beneficial, because it took me a while to like read fluently. Not that I can't read. It's just like, like being that consistent. So The Magic's the first book I read. Dude, I thought I hated reading because of school. Like, yeah, I would pay kids to do book reports. Yeah, totally. Like, you pay them $5 and they get lunch money and they would do my book report. Yeah. And I thought I hated reading, but they would make me read stupid fucking books like that I just didn't care about. Not that they're stupid. I didn't care about them. Like The Outsiders or Lord of the Flies, that are actually like two great books apparently. I just didn't care. Like I don't care. Like, but as soon as it started so I thought I just hate reading, right? But as soon as I started being introduced to like, whoa, I'm learning about business, I'm learning about my mindset and how I'm creating my reality, I'm learning about different things that I'm interested in, all of a sudden I love reading. Yeah. Right? It wasn't that I hated reading, it was that I hated reading books that I didn't give a fuck about. Yeah. Yeah, when you said Lord of the Flies, it reminded me, because like I said, I never read. So that was one of them where I did a whole bunch of research online. Yeah. So it was like when, I think it was probably Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and stuff. That was the main search engines. But I didn't read the book. And we had to do a full book report on it. And I was like under the gun. And it was me that had to take care of this one. And I did a bunch of research. And I found this little piece. And like, I don't really understand the whole, understand the book fully. Yeah. I think it's something to do with kids getting stranded on an island. Yeah. And then there's something to do with pigs, eating pigs and all this other stuff or a guy named Piggy or something. Piggy. He gets crushed by the rock. I remember that part because we watched the movie. Okay. And so there was one piece that I read online, whether it was true or not, or whether it was in the book or not. Yeah. But it's like talking about, I think it was closer to the end of the book or something, how the current or something flew back or was flowing backwards around the island. And it was to represent that the kids were like going back in like
what's the word I'm looking for? Like turning into like Neanderthals, basically. Like
Yeah.
going back to the, and that was like, I don't know if this was in the book, but that I read that in this, like when I asked Jeeves or something, and I put that in my book report, and my teacher was blown away. And I'm like, I didn't even know what's going on. But she's like, wow, that was a really great observation. I'm like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves is badass. Jeeves. He knows a lot of stuff.
Jeeves is my boy. We had a chat about it.
My homie.
Oh man, that's hilarious, dude. And it's funny because it's like that's even another part of why wanting to do this is like I really hate what our educational system has become.
Oh yeah.
You know, so like I want to be able to. I feel like education starts once you get out of school, should you choose to do it, because I think you learn a lot more from like experiences and people that have actually done the things you're looking to do. Whether it's you want to be a basketball player or a videographer or a business person, like go actually learn from that person versus like they're being taught like it was. Fuck. Yeah, that's a whole fucking conversation that I can go into.
Totally.
But just kind of awakening to the fact that we are like, no matter what we want to be able to do, we have the ability to go out and create whatever reality we possibly can conjure up in our mind. But what usually ends up happening is we end up doubting ourselves or thinking we're not good enough or we're not smart enough.
Comparing ourselves to, and then and that's where it comes from a lot, I think. You look at somebody else, you're like, oh, well, they're a lot better than me. You don't see the time, effort, and energy they invested first. That's the same stuff that you would do. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like you look at any skill set. What was when they talk about like the amount of hours to become like a master of a skill? I think it was like 10,000 hours.
10,000, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Right? It's like 10,000 hours. So it's like, you know, a lot of the times we compare ourselves to someone who's like 26,000 hours in.
Yeah, they're at level 50.
Yeah, and we're at 6 hours in, going, fuck, why aren't I this good? And it's like, yeah, you got another 25,954 more hours to go. Yeah. So like, it's like slow your roll, like settle down. There's no overnight success. So I think it really comes down to just being like being very clear on what it is that you want, like looking at what makes you really happy. And now that we brought it up too, even for everyone watching this, like one of the things that is like a pivotal cultural piece for our whole community is the book The Magic. Just on like, I thought I was grateful before I read that book. It's basically a 28-day gratitude routine where every day you're expressing gratitude in another area of your life. And by the end of it, you're going to have at least one day, but if not multiple days, that will radically transform the way that you look at the world and the way that you operate on a day-to-day basis. And when you start coming from that place of expressing gratitude for everything, like if you look at it like this, like if you imagine if you weren't grateful for your husband or for your wife or for your boyfriend or for your girlfriend, like how long do you think they're going to stick around for? Right? But you look at the same thing, like what about if you're not grateful for your money? What about if you're not grateful for your health? What about if you're not grateful for all those things? How long do you think those things are going to stick around for when you're not grateful for it? Because when you're not grateful for it, your actions are going to show that as well. And so it's really, really important that, because if you don't express gratitude for the things that you have, why the fuck are you going to get more?
Yeah.
You're not going to get more of it. If anything, you're going to get less. So even if you're at a point of you don't have money right now, or you don't have the job that you want, or you don't have the health that you want, or whatever it might be, you're still expressing gratitude for those things even before they've come. And it's a really, really great practice that you can do that really just changes the way that you look at things. And it starts your day off fucking amazing. Because if you look at, like, I don't know about you, but before I started doing it, like I could wake up in the morning and stub my fucking toe and my day was fucked.
Pooped.
You know, like my whole fucking day.
Totally, man. Yeah, like if I jumped in the shower a little bit too early and it was cold, done. Like, you know, like I throw my stuff in the toaster and I forgot to push it down and then I come out and it's not cooked. Hooped.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
It's over.
Yeah.
Like, shut it down. I'm staying home today.
Totally. And so, but when you start with gratitude, and so you're expressing gratitude in because what is it, even right now, you're listening to this right now, you were to write down 10 things that you're grateful for: my family, my health, my friends, my job, my roof over my head, I can breathe, I can walk. Like when you really, for all the things that you're grateful for, you feel amazing. You feel really, really good. Now, all of a sudden, when the toaster doesn't come up or you stub your fucking toe, it's not really a big deal. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, I love where they talk about, like, don't sweat the small stuff. And when you're really grateful for everything, you realize it's all fucking small stuff.
It's all small stuff, yeah.
You know, and so it's a really huge piece to, I feel it should be everyone's morning. And it's funny because we've been doing this like the magic part for about 4 years now. But what's cool is in the last year or so, I'm seeing a lot, and especially as I'm listening to more podcasts and a lot more videos, it's a common thing that everyone talks about.
Dude, I seen a guy on the Facebook the other day, like never seen him or met him in my life, and he's like, that was his topic that he was teaching on and talking about.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he's like, people ask me how I stay motivated and how I get so much shit done every day. Right. And he kind of explains a little bit, and he's like, and this is where it comes from. It comes from every morning that I wake up, I come up with 5 things that I'm grateful for, and I talk about how full of gratitude I am for this, that, the other thing. And because of that, it just gets my mindset shifted into that positive, that positive focus, and now everything just starts to move smoothly because you're not thinking about all the bullshit from yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Brings you into the present with gratitude, equalizes everything out, and then it like allows him to stay motivated. And I'm like, man, I wonder if he's read the Magic.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, well, because
I mean, all the books are really based on gratitude and just the importance of gratitude, right? But it's cool. It's cool. I think the powerful thing about the Magic is that it's giving you the practice. Like, it's giving you a physical practice. Yeah. It's giving you physical questions and like a cut and dry, like kind of like the platform. A cut and dry, like read it, do what it says. Read the next one. Do what it says. Yeah. And then read it and then do what it says. And then but that's the important piece, or like one of the most important pieces to it, right? Like you were saying, like, like in the saying, knowledge is power. No, fuck that. Applied knowledge is power. You can know everything out of the book. You can know that book cover to cover. Yeah. But if you're not implementing and leveraging and utilizing it, and there's no better way to leverage and utilize that or gratitude alone than to read that book, because it lays it out like it's a perfect roadmap. Yeah,
that's why I can say with confidence, like if you do every day, and it's 28 days, and each day is like 4 pages, like 5 pages. It takes you 10 minutes.
Yeah,
to do.
This morning it took me about 17 minutes. I had a timer on it. Yeah, and I wasn't rushing at all. Yeah, and I was writing up my gratitude list, and they were like 4 or 5 liners.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, so it's not difficult, but yes, it's the applied part of it, because now before you move on, even as I started reading, that was one of the ways that allowed me to absorb a lot more, was when I do take time and actually like write down, what am I learning for the first time? What am I learning? What am I learning for the first time? What am I learning as like a refresher that I've already learned? And then how can I take that knowledge and apply that before I move on to chapter 2? Right. Whereas in the Magic, it's forcing you to do that. Yeah. You have to do it. You can't get by without, well, you can just read it, but you're not going to get it out of it. It's the most important part, is to actually apply each part as you go through. But that one piece alone, regardless to what you do, if all you got out of this entire thing was, I'm going to read the Magic now, like this is something that now, like I've probably bought it 30 times just to give to people. Like I give it to everyone at Christmas. I give it to friends. I give it to everyone. And every person that's actually read it and gone through it has come back to me with some sort of story from one of the days where they're like, you'll never believe what happened. Yeah. I'm like, no, I probably do. Yeah. It's crazy to think, and it's really, really cool to see when it's something as simple as that can really kind of set the, not only prep your day. Now all of a sudden, it's not that when you're grateful for things, that bad shit's not going to happen. Like we're never going to live in a reality that only positive things happen and nothing bad's going to, like that. It's balance. A fantasy.
It's always going to be balanced.
It's a fantasy. It doesn't exist. And, and if you try to live in that reality, you try to live in just positive things and only positive things happen, then some nightmare is going to come up to bring you back to that balance. Yeah. So it's not about that. But just like what we're saying, it's not that we're not going to stub our toe in the morning, but when we've prepped ourselves and been grateful for it, when the toaster doesn't come up, we're not fucking, our day doesn't go fucked because of that. Because we're really, when it comes down to it, when you think about all the things that you're grateful for, who the fuck cares that the toast didn't come up? You know what I mean? Like, but when you don't do that stuff, that's the biggest fucking thing that's happened today.
Yeah. Because it's something different. It's out of the norm that usually happens. So now it's something to focus on. Yeah. And then it's just something to it's like the scapegoat. Because of that toast, bro, I didn't get my food this morning. I've been hungry all morning. And because of that, I wasn't able to get this work done. And now my boss is pissed at me. And because of that, he's pissed at me. Now I might not have a job here coming up for Christmas because of that damn toast. Right? Like legit though. Like legit. That's how it goes. And that's how it went for me. So it's like, it's so funny. The Magic is like a perfect prepper to just it's the awareness thing, right? It's the awareness, the conscious, bringing it to your conscious mind, realizing that your thoughts create your reality, realizing that when you're grateful for things you have, you'll be in abundance and have more. Realizing all of those pieces, it's the perfect prep for that, because that's the fun shit.
Yep.
That's the exciting shit when we can realize that we have that power, right, to create it. And then from there, it's that perfect stepping stone to be able to start learning more and more, and then bring your awareness that everything is, you know, balance. There's balance involved with everything, and how you can actually like physically, you know, not physically, but mentally be able to balance these things out through certain strategies and processes and principles and everything. It's really fucking cool.
It's really cool. And it's crazy to think. And because I remember the first time I was introduced to that concept of like everything's always in balance, because I wanted to live in a reality that everything was just awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like no bad shit happens. And so I remember it was actually Dr. John DeMartini. It was the Breakthrough Experience book, and I'd read it for the first time. And I was like starting to realize that like, oh, it's not about having only positive things happen, and I can't do that. Like there's no way for me to do it. So let's throw that out the window, because I'm setting an unrealistic expectation that's just going to allow a nightmare to come up to balance it. So fuck that, right? Because he talks about always being equilibrated. And so if you have something bad happen, something good will happen to equilibrate it. Or if you have something good happen, something bad will happen to equilibrate it. Or at random, or you can equilibrate yourself and bring yourself back down, meaning when something bad happens, looking at the positive that comes from it. And that was the part that my friends thought I was fucking crazy for.
Yeah.
was because I started realizing that. So I'm like, oh, if this bad thing happened, as bad, the worse it is, the better something has to happen to balance it out. So I could get excited about that. I remember totaling my fucking Prelude, and I was pumped. I had just spent so much time and money to like save up, and it was $6,000. But at the time, like that was a big fucking thing for me to do. And I get this car, and I had it for like a month and just fucking totaled it. And I was pumped.
Yeah.
And my friends are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You don't even know, bro.
I'm like, no, like this is shitty. And I get that. But if because of this shitty thing happening, something fucking awesome has to happen to balance that out. And so now where I would normally become pissed and fucking angry and fuck this and fuck that, and now what am I focusing on? What am I intending on? And what am I seeing more of? Versus now shifting. And it's very hard to because that's a strong program for me when bad shit happens, is immediately react, immediately get pissed, immediately this, and it runs me. And so ran me. And so being able to go through and now look at, okay, this happened, and to look at it in that way, to be like, what positive thing has to happen to balance this out? Not that you need to know what it is, but at least trusting in the fact of knowing something.
It makes you aware now. So now it's like you're open to actually see it.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, before, for me, for example, and I'm sure other people have gone through this, you too, is that bad thing happens, you react in a negative, bad way, and you carry that and drag that baggage for a long time. I've seen, you know, people that I know like personally and like family and even too, where something bad happened, and that's dragged on for fucking 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? Because of, but it's like when we can actually be aware that there will be something good that happens. A lot of great things happened to that person, right? And to me when those things happened. But if I wasn't willing to be accepting to it, or willing to be aware and actually like be open and see it when it happens, then it never will happen, right? You'll never accept it, and then you just think that the world's out to fucking get you.
Yeah, the world happens to me.
Yeah, and it just comes to that same place of just like being aware and looking for it. Because there's so many things going on when we're aware and we're actually looking for it. All of a sudden we can be like, aha, that just happened, and I know it's because of that, and I wonder what else is going to happen. You can weigh it out and like, okay, yeah, we're pretty well balanced now. Yeah. Where's she going to go now, right? And it gets you excited for everything. So now it's good, and it's just cool, because if you're aware of the negatives, you're aware of the positives. It's not that when you're aware of a negative thing happening that you have to attach yourself to it. Yeah. It's just being aware of it, and then just go throw yourself and attach yourself to the positive side and enjoy it. Yeah, because that was one of the big, and we both got like that really solidified it for me at Accelerate when we're going over the experience where it's like nothing's good, nothing's bad, it just is. It is, yeah. And when you can start getting to that point, because even us saying now like the negative thing and the positive thing, really, when you look at it, is it negative? Because of that thing happening, it caused this positive thing to happen. So is that really negative? No, it just is. Like it's not. So once you can get to that point, one, it just allows you. It's this liberating and freeing feeling, and two,
the one thing you were touching about like one thing happens and the person held on to it forever. Joe talks about this funny concept, how like that basically creates, so like this happens and it creates like a temperament, and that going on for longer enough, it starts to create basically a personality, and it starts to form from an event. Like an event happened, got them pissed off, and now it goes into like a temperament, and then that keeps going on for longer. And so he's talking about how your personal reality starts to create your personality. But then it's like also at the same time, does your personal reality create your personality, or does your personality create your personal reality? Because it'll come back the other way too, because now all of a sudden your personality is starting to create your personal reality around you, which then in turn will go back. So it's like this perpetual feedback loop.
It's the feedback loop
that keeps going around. But I love this, and I love going on. And this is one of the things that I'm really excited about, because this is where like we can really get to, there's so much stuff we can go into, and we're always learning and growing and learning new things, and we're always meeting new people and going to different events. And so hopefully listening to this, you guys get something out of there. We're more so just wanting to at least start the foundation, let you guys get to know us a little bit. But as we go moving forward, getting into a lot of these concepts, I firmly believe that like success starts with you, and it starts with your mindset, and everything else can kind of be built up from there. I believe everyone's born a genius, and if you, and to further that point, go listen to the TEDx talk in Tucson by Dr. George Land. They did a really cool creativity study. I'll probably talk about another one, but basically everyone's born a genius, and we get kind of beaten out of us, and so we want to be able to change that and just get to the point where we can start really showing what's helped us, what's helped our clients, what's helped our students, what things that we've personally experienced that we can kind of go through. And so you kind of got a little bit of a background on us, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, man. It's going to be real fun. Got some big ripples going to be flowing out of this one, I think.
Absolutely. So I think that's a wrap for episode 1.
That is a wrap. Sick flow.